more space if you're doing it. And not do it as rapidly as this is going to be. But then she knows I'm nasty anyway. So. Question I'd ask you first of all, as a group, you've just written something down. Think about that and what it was that you've learned today. So when you walk out of here, you disappear as the Clifford Whitworth building, whatever it is. What is it you're taking with you? And I'd ask Chrissy to write down what she thinks you're taking with you now. Okay? Okay, so if you just think probably what you've just written on your post-it note. Okay? And then I'm going to ask Chrissy to tell you what this section was about as far as she's concerned. And your facial expressions can show her whether your notes bear any relation to what she's just written down. Okay? You will have noticed I have turned the learning objectives around so that you can't cheat.
I don't cheat. I'm not cheat. No, what I think is, well, the process of PBL, I think it enabled them to experience PBL, because it's different talking about PBL, but actually doing it highlights, I think, some of the difficulties and the advantages as well, challenges and benefits. And I think all of you experienced that firsthand, while some of these are not shared. You're going away knowing that, okay, well, that's a challenge that I felt today. But also I think some of you have started thinking about how you could perhaps use that or your own version in your own teaching. That's what I would like. But also beyond the PBL, because the thing was assessment and feedback. We talked about assessment and feedback. I think the session enabled you to investigate assessment or feedback. That was one of the problems of the session, because of time and how it was constructed. But I think it gave you a flavor of what assessment is currently, what good assessment looked like, and you had some time to do that investigation on your own and come back as a group. And I think it did help that you did that in a group, because you discovered all kinds of things from each other. I didn't give you anything, or almost anything. So I hope that's what you got, and I hope that you will go away and perhaps look at these things further, so it shouldn't really stop here now.
Do you agree?
Mm.
It's a difficult balance, isn't it, that process and content, and I think it's one of the things that you have a challenge with here, that you've set up a process that you want people to learn from, as well as the content of the stuff that students are doing, which is often a problem for our students. We ask them to do something and we want them to learn from the process, but what they concentrate on is the content. Is the stuff right? So I thought you did that very well. Your challenges, what were your main challenges in this session?
No time, we discussed that yesterday.
Yeah, I did tell you that that was going to be a challenge.
You said it's very ambitious, yes. You said a very ambitious session, and I'm not sure if we would get through. I said, well, I've done something similar before. Actually, the previous session was more loaded. So I've already cut bits out and adjusted, which I think was better, gave them more time. What was the question? I forgot the question.
What are the challenges, or what were the challenges for you in actually running it? Now you're looking back almost immediately after it's finished. What were the bits that you were uncomfortable with, if any?
Well, it was the time, how to manage time. I get into what I do quite a lot, too much maybe myself, and I give too much. Maybe I should step back a bit further and give you a lot more power.
What's really interesting, isn't it, is when you give them the power, this group know an enormous amount of stuff. And if you let them do it, they do it. So, I mean, I'd agree. I think you were brave to do what you did. And you're immediately in difficult challenge because the session started later than anticipated, so you're immediately under pressure. But I think your preparation has allowed you to have some comfort in that. It was clearly well prepared. What for you is the problem, or was the problem of breaking into small groups? Did you encounter any issue when you broke them up? So we were in a big group start, and then you broke them up. What happened? Did you notice anything?
You mean the PBL groups?
Yeah, immediately. When you formed them into groups, what happened?
What did happen? I don't know what happened. I mean, I think people know each other quite well. We are in week 7 out of 10. I had a rationale why I put certain people together. because I wanted them to experience perhaps working with people they knew and people they didn't know and have different skills and have shown different levels of engagement. So there were all kinds of things that I was thinking about in the train yesterday when I was going back home. I was forming these groups. What I noticed is that obviously some people are more dominant than others, but you get that anyway. And I think that's reality when you work in groups.
But it's not necessarily a problem, is it?
No, it's not necessarily a problem. It's a dynamic. It's how, I think my problem was I didn't know, I wasn't sure how much I should intervene. So what should I do?
It's a difficult question, isn't it? What do you do? I mean, I think the first thing I noticed, the moment you ask the groups to form and do something, groups tend to do exactly what most groups do then, which is go and cause a bit of chaos. Not actually listen to you.
Oh yes, I didn't listen, they never listened.
So we go off, we become, and then we start doing the usual typical thing of, what are we supposed to do? Even though at the time, what we're supposed to do.
Yes, even the bell didn't work.
Yeah,
They're used to the bell now.
They've now ignored the bell. You've got to have something else, some kind of klaxon or something.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to think about that. The moment you ask people to split into groups, you lose control.
Yes.
And there's the potential. One of the challenges you have in any learning situation is that distraction. And how do you deal with that distraction? You've got problems with the learning outcomes because they're written up there. People couldn't necessarily see them because it's quite small, and where they're actually having them on the desk. If they're that important, your learning outcomes, to have those as a clear focus for people. So I think that was the problem for you to start with. At that introductory phase, so if you think of the session as a beginning, a middle and an end, how did you feel the beginning went? So that
was too much. There was too much beginning. I think I didn't have to tell that story. For some reason I felt, it wasn't planned actually, but I wrote it this morning on the train again. And I felt that I just want to get it out of my system, make it a bit more personal as an experience of bad feedback and how that can influence.
I don't think there's necessarily a problem with that either. My only concern for you in the first part, and the group might have a different view because it's what they feel as well, the first part to me felt just a little bit disjointed. We're moving into groups, we've got a bit of chat about Woody Allen, we've got a personal story, we then go into the activity, then we're back into the group. And all of those things, at times the link between them wasn't exactly clear for me. Now you could argue that I'm proposing a series of things that are making people think. And that may have worked for some of the audience, and it may have worked quite well. And admitting your own vulnerabilities, as you did at the beginning, can break down some of the barriers. But what it also could lead to is that distraction of, I don't really know what we're doing, I don't really know why we've been told that. And we may work it through, but that could be a problem, I think. I would ask the group, but because of time.
Well, we can ask them maybe.
How did it feel? How did the introduction feel? Were you clear? When you went off into your groups, were you clear what you were supposed to be doing?
Yes.
Yes.
So you were all quite comfortable?
They're defending me now, I think.
We introduced it, and we had the instructions written on the table.
Yeah.
Which helped. Yeah. Which is good. It's good planning, as I said at the beginning. I think she planned that really well. When you ask them to do the first task then, so they've gone through the group, then they get their purple or green bits of paper.
Yes, a mess.
And they went off and with their various tasks of, I'll go and find students having a cigarette so I can have one. See, I do spot some things. What happened to that? How well did that go in terms of timing and what they did?
Well, the timing was rubbish.
So your immediate challenge is here. As soon as they're out of your sphere of influence, you've got problems. And of course, you again, students, any group of humans, actually, it's not the students, we're just human beings, will circumvent what you ask them to do. You know, please put this on a green sheet and this on a purple sheet. Or I've written them both on a green sheet. I've written that on a purple sheet. Which is a useful lesson for us all, isn't it? Even then we think the task we've given somebody is incredibly easy and clear. Human beings will find a way to disrupt that and do something completely different, and then go, ha, you wanted all green there or purple there. Look at that. So I think, we've all got to think about the tasks. I thought what you did well was actually, given the task, manage the time. I thought you did little things like giving everybody the clock to look at the countdown, and I thought that actually worked quite well. I thought it was good to initially circulate and check clarity at the outset. I think that's good because people aren't clear at the outset. How did you feel that you've got 4 groups? How did they behave? Were they all the same, or did they behave very differently?
Well, each group is different, so they behave differently, they organize themselves differently, they work differently. But again, I don't think, well, that's life, again, that's reality. So,
and how do you as a teacher deal with that? What are the challenges then for you? Because you've got groups behaving differently.
Well, you need to be aware of it, you need to observe them carefully, what's happening, but then there's a big decision, when do I actually step in? When do I say, right, you're on the wrong track here, or when do I say certain things? But because I see myself as outside of these groups, I don't want to direct, but I think I should have probably stepped in further in at least 1 or 2 groups. Which I did.
It is a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I think it's really interesting to note the groups all behave differently. Your challenge is they work at a different pace. So people are at different stages during it.
Yeah, but what they did is they organised their time. I think 1 or 2 groups were better at time management. And I would say Rebecca's team was quite strict on that. But that worked for her, and she had experience of working in such environments, and that helped. Now, when you have other people who are less familiar with these things and have perhaps less authority, or you don't know, they don't know, or feel unsure how much should I really be doing here. But I don't know how I can intervene.
Well, I think PBL and what you've set up here has a way of sorting some of that for you, because it gives them at least a structure. It gives people certain roles which takes some of the task away from you to time manage. That in theory, we're supposed to select somebody to keep to time. And some groups clearly do that more effectively than others. So, as you rightly say, Chris, one of your challenges is where do you intervene in the groups? There's only, in ideal traditional PBL, you'd be in each of there would be somebody in the group, and that would help. Here, you've got to split yourself around. But they were clearly engaged in the topic. There was very little distraction I was aware of. They weren't talking about football or EastEnders that I was aware of. Maybe they did when they went outside. But, so, I think that was good from you. I thought you encouraged them with good, positive body language throughout, which is important. And the question of engagement is an issue, isn't it? As soon as you move in, what happens? When you move into a group, what tended to happen in your experience? Did they carry on talking to themselves, or did they talk to you?
Some of them did. I think if they were in the middle of a conversation, they continued most of the times. But some of the times, yes, I felt like I became suddenly the centre of attention.
It changes the dynamics quite a few times. That they then see you as the person who may give them some direction, perhaps, may give them a quicker way to the answer, if there is such a thing. And just be aware that it does shift the dynamics. But the key thing I think you learned, that you already knew, isn't it, that they already know most of the answers. Yeah. And there was research that went on, but you, as a group, they know the answers. You don't need to tell them. You could have done a 3-hour session this morning where you told them all about assessment and feedback. They'd have been deadly bored by the end of it, however charismatic you are. And they already know that argument that philosophy will give us, that you can't teach people anything they don't already know. You already knew it, and this was just a way of getting that out. So it gives you a different role. You can observe them, you can see their strengths. And so I thought that worked well. I thought what you did really well was, when you're in the groups, as much as possible, using the Socratic approach. You didn't actually give them that much information. You just asked them questions and replied with questions to make them hopeful. Think, was that an intentional thing?
Yes, I mean, it's easy to provide the answer sometimes when you're unsure of time and you think, oh, just tell them. You die to tell them. But you need to give them the time and space to think and try to control that and yes, not give them the answers. Well, I think in some teams I did give some hints of certain things.
Was that because you feel that they were struggling without that,
Yes,
or whether it's because
I
they
think-
just smiled nicely and made you feel that, yeah, we like you, Chrissy, so give us the answer?
No, I don't think anybody likes me, but it's not about liking somebody. No, well it is.
Like you.
No, but yes, I think they were going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like, boom, I dropped the bomb here and maybe that will help.
I think one of the challenges, it is a long time, and one of the things I reckon they're all knackered.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We did
Did it feel like 3 hours?
I'd give them a break. Just to legitimise that you can now go and talk about it. I think the danger of when you're the teacher, it's really, really interesting, and you can keep going because there's never enough time to get it all done. But your learners are often sitting there thinking, God's sake, come on.
Yes, but I thought because you had 1.5 hours,
Yeah.
you would arrange it,
Yeah.
your breaks. I mean, I didn't say don't go out or.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you did. Yeah, I would have rebelled. I'd have come out and said we're having a 5-minute break, but you didn't. You carried on.
And I felt because of the nature of the exercise that we had permission to go and do what we wanted.
You guys won't get yourselves a
but
coffee.
we were so busy at it, well, I never moved from the table, do you know what I mean? We were desperate for the toilet, desperate wanted to drink, someone else not do one. But you know, it's that kind of, so
I hope you've now gone.
no, still desperate. Getting worse.
But I think sometimes it is worth, if you want people to, I think you can get away with it with a group that are really interested and focused and got a task and happy to do it. I think when you've got a group where they're slightly less focused, you need to be aware of sometimes building that break in, just to let them go, legitimise the talking about something else and then come back. So I thought it was great, you know, because I was here late and they'd already been at it, and then they've got another 3 hours, and now they've got to sit and listen to me. By the end of this, they're going to be finishing for the day.
Yes, but I have to tell you, I have a problem with breaks generally, because I think people go, yes, while I understand there are benefits to this, they just switch off and then to switch them back on. I just sometimes feel that it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I think in the task they're like this, if they're engaged and interested in the task, giving a break and just allow them to just have a couple of minutes out and then come back refreshed and start again. Yes, you can lose things, but if you've got that slowing down because people are getting tired, actually they're going to carry on slowing down, and actually the ability to keep focusing on the task. They are going to be all different, and some people wouldn't want a break, but I think you might have got more if you've just given them 5 minutes, legitimised, have a 5-minute break. Even if you said to them as groups, have a 5-minute break when you want to as a group, if you want to. If you don't,
I think that
carry on.
would be useful, yes. Maybe I should have highlighted that.
But I think from what we were doing this morning, there wasn't a natural break. And I think that it would have been difficult to factor a break in. I can understand what you're saying, and you said the same. We were all going at it, and if we'd have had a break, I don't know whether an enforced break, I don't know whether we'd have come back with the same enthusiasm for it. I think we'd have, because we're all tired, the adrenaline kept us going by carrying on. Really, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean it is a difficult one, I think. But I think just be aware with your students, and time of the day, you get away with it more in the morning. But people keep going in the afternoon, you're going to find it harder. I thought it worked well at the end to get them to go. You have the dilemma. Should I put the assessment groups together? Should I put the assessment? Let them decide. Don't make that choice. So it's still hard because everybody sort of shrugs and looks at you and goes, oh, whatever. It's always going to be difficult. But I thought that went well. And you know, you've got at the end. And I think it's really, really important at the end. I see so many sessions that peter out. Starts clear. You do the tasks or whatever it is, and then at the end everybody goes, yep, fine, off we go. And just clarifying at the end, what is it you've got out? What are you going to leave today with, whether it's on that post-it note, or whether it's reflect back on it with the group. What's been there with you? So Chrissy, what are you taking about from today? What have you learned? What can you tell this group that they've done to you this morning? That you're going out there knowing that they're hopefully going out with some stuff about the process of PBL, some stuff about assessment and stuff about feedback, which they gain from each other with that. What are you going out as a teacher having gained from spending 4 hours with this lot today?
I'm amazed and proud with the level of engagement that all of you have shown and how you have made that task today your own and worked, I think, really well together, despite, I know, some of the difficulties some of you had. I think that's what I'm taking away, that I need to try different things, and I think it's worth being more adventurous. And if things go wrong, there's no perfect situation anyway. So I think my role is to model different things, and that's what I'm doing anyway. And I think PBL is one of them, which is a different way of delivering and learning. Learning, I would say, not delivering, of learning and teaching. Not even teaching, I guess, just learning. So I'm just really proud of what you have done and how you engaged, and that gives me great satisfaction. I don't know what else to say.
So last thing, one thing as a result of this that you do differently next time. What would you do different? If you had to start the session again, you could tell us about what would you do differently?
I don't know, at the beginning, I think the beginning didn't work so well. We had though that problem, we had the 2 presentations at the beginning as well, which were detached from the actual session. So I think there was a need for a clearer start for what you're going to do today, I think. And there was a lot of little bits happening just too fiddly that were not necessary, maybe, and could have been done maybe some of them online or in some other way. So I think a clearer focus on the actual PBL task, and that's it, would have helped.
I think you're right. I think clarity at the beginning is a crucial thing, so that people know exactly what are we here for, what we're doing. And your outcomes are clear, but building on that, if that's what it's about, don't clutter it with anything else. Just make it really clear what we're there to achieve. I think you're absolutely right. You've been brave. Nothing wrong with that. Carry on being brave. Because, you know, when you are, sometimes you think the wheels are going to come off, and they don't. This group have enjoyed this morning, I think. I think they've really engaged. They found it tiring, and that's a good thing. If they go out tired, they've probably worked quite hard. I think teachers just think about keeping out of the way. Teachers like to think, I'm the worst case. It's been hell for me. I keep out of the way. My ego has been damaged. I can't water on endlessly. But it's a really good lesson to watch. And just keep out of the way. People can do it. If you give them the right tasks, they'll do it. If they see the reason for them to do it. Because there's a huge amount of knowledge that's here, and you've used that really well today. So I think it's very positive. I think you've engaged with a difficult challenge. You've set yourself up to make it even more difficult with the timing, but you've got away with that. And you've engaged them positively and constructively. You've kept out of the way most of the time. Your result is, I think, they've probably learned quite a lot more than if you'd given them a session on assessment and feedback or problem-based learning, merging the two together. The process and content, I think, is a really positive thing. And the only other thing I would say is that sometimes it might be worth thinking about offering less at the outset, so you don't set yourself up, and then if you get further, actually you then present, actually look at all the other things we're now going to do. The moment you promise people we're going to do X, Y and Z, all you can do is X, Y and Z, and then you don't create anything other than they say, well, that's what we were going to do. If you say we're going to do X and Y, and then say, now look, you've done so well as a group, we can do Z as well, they go, wow, even better. So I think just think about what am I offering. I'm offering them the world. I'm going to show them how to do PBL this morning, and all about assessment, and all about feedback. In 3 hours, well done, come and teach on my course. But I thought it was really good. So yeah, are there any other comments? Have I been fair?
Yes.
It's on film, so you can deny that. I can't, I just said it. So I'm not that nasty. Just for you as well, I think, I was really impressed with the things that you came up with. It's not an easy area, assessment and feedback. it's really, really powerful hearing what they've got to say when you went out to start with, I think. And most of it, I think, was what you probably expect. But there are one or two things in there that are probably not. And that's really important to find out what do they think about your assessment. Before you get into the habits and behaviours that we do as teachers, there's no point in giving them feedback because they never read it. Why not? How do we know that? Why do we go into it? There's a really good paper, if any of you are interested, by a guy called David Carlos about trust and distrust in assessment. And that whole thing about the fact that when we start not trusting our students, we're in danger of actually being able to build any relationship with them that actually can help. And I think what Chris has done today is try to build a relationship between you as a group, but also with her. Based on that trust, you'll do the task. She's trusted you to do it, you've done it. And there's a great danger in our assessment of feedback. If we don't trust them, they won't read the feedback. What's the point? They still keep making the same mistakes. What's the point in giving them the feedback? Maybe we give them so much feedback they can't make any sense of it. Maybe they don't get a sense of why you've given them the feedback. Maybe the fact that you get their 70% or 60% and think, good, so who cares what you reckon? So some really important things, but you were talking about it, so I thought it was really good.
So can you just repeat what that article is?
It's David Carlos, and it's trust and distrust in assessment. And if you just put Carlos into Google Scholar, the paper will come up. It was 2007, I want to think, maybe later, I can't remember exactly the date. He's a professor of education in Hong Kong. He's written quite a lot about assessment, as has Manchion, which I noticed one or two people quoted. He's quite good. He's quite good at telling you the different stages. So. But well done. It's never easy, and the start doesn't help when you've got some strange bloke who's an external examiner standing there or sitting there with a bit of paper. So that doesn't make it easy, especially when all you can remember is the fact he interviewed you and he was nasty. Okay, fair.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much.
It's nice to meet you all briefly.
Thank you.
And video you. I do apologise for that.
Okay, we haven't finished, but if you
All
want
right.
to leave, that's
No,
fine.
I'll just sit here and listen.
Right, okay. Well, was this
We're still
useful?
filming.
Yes, if you stop it now, yes, it's fine. Was this